pornography becomes normalized, it's also becoming more explicit, violent, racist, humiliating, and dehumanizing, while focusing on aggressive sexual activity.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. Today's episode deals with important yet potentially triggering material. We will be discussing personal safety and the prevention of child exploitation and sexual abuse. As always, friends, I want you to exercise your healthiest screen habit and please take care of you. If this is a topic that doesn't work for you today, put it on pause. Come back later. Please make your best choice for you today. Teaching body boundaries and online safety is what We Stand Guard does best. It's a training program designed to educate everyone about preventing child sexual abuse and exploitation in all its forms, whether that be physical or non-physical contact abuse. My guest today is the brains behind the program. As an author and elementary school educator with over 15 years experience working with children across the country, she has a Master of Arts in Teaching and has taught boundaries and personal safety to over 1,000 elementary school students. Today, she's going to teach us about body boundaries and online safety for kids. I'm so glad she's here. Welcome, Kimberly Perry.
Thank you, Hillary. I'm very happy to be here.
One of the things that immediately caught my attention from the We Stand Guard program is this use of picture books to open discussion. Because the use of picture books is generally used in primary grades, and because we are healthy screen habits, I kind of want to swing it around to our tech concerns. What is the average age, Kimberly, that kids are being exposed to online pornography?
Well, exposure to pornography can happen when they first have access to the internet. And according to the Youth Internet Safety Survey published in 2010, the ages when youth were unwillingly exposed to nudity online were 10 to 12 years old is 15%, 13 to 15-year-olds, 23%, and 16 to 17-year-olds, 28%. However, children are accessing pornography earlier than ever, with under 10s now accounting for 1 in 10 of the visitors to porn video sites. Children under the age of 10 now account for 22% of online pornography consumption among under 18s, according to research by the security technology company Bitfender. Some 10% of the visitors to the porn video sites are less than 10 years old. The internal intelligence from Bitfinder's parental control feature revealed that the sites most visited by children under 10 include xvideos.com, xnxx.com, and pornhub.com.
Now that we have that age range, when do you recommend that parents start talking to their kids about explicit content or online porn?
Well, like I said at the beginning, when a child first has access to devices and the internet, and I imagine many of us can think of people in our lives where maybe or we even see when we're out and about in public, infants and toddlers and children and teens having a device, and they're just one click away from pornographic or XXX hardcore content. In fact, one of my friends and colleagues, Kristen Jensen, she's the author of Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. She says that kids can be exposed to pornography in 10 ways, including social media, apps, smartphones or secret burner phones, video and music streaming services, other kids' devices and homes, grandparents or other family members' homes, online gaming, video game consoles, school, VR, and AI-generated art, quote unquote art. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to reference a couple of historical studies to further explain the idea of talking to our kids sooner rather than later.
For sure.
So there's a study done in 2007, the University of Washington Seattle Children's Hospital Research Institute. They found that a large number of parents are ignoring warnings from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and they're allowing their very young children to watch television, DVDs, or videos, so that by the 3 months of age, 40% of infants are regular viewers. That jumps to 90% of 2-year-olds. This exposure to TV takes away time from more developmentally appropriate activities, such as a parent or an adult caregiver and an infant engaging in free play with dolls or blocks or cars or even being out in nature.
Mhm.
So while appropriate television and screen time, viewing at the right age can be helpful for both children and parents, excessive viewing before age 3 has been shown to be associated with problems of attention control, aggressive behavior, and poor cognitive development. In fact, early television viewing has exploded in recent years and is one of the major public health issues facing American children. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, my mind just goes to, the past 3 years that we've lived through with pandemic and post-pandemic.
Yes.
So many, I think we were, Emily Churkin, who's the screen time consultant, has an analogy that I just love, that she says, like, during the pandemic the screens were our lifeboat, right? I mean, online education, socializing, etc., they were our lifeboat. That being said, we weren't meant to live in a lifeboat. so
Well,
so we
exactly. I have a study that's over the last decade, and I know you just spotlighted the last 3 years, but this is important to look at our history and where we've been heading and how we can hopefully head in a new direction. But in the study from 2019, Dr. John Hutton, he's a pediatrician and clinical researcher at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and he evaluated screen time use by infants, toddlers, and preschools, noticing that it had exploded over the last decade, concerning experts about the impact of television, tablets, and smartphones on these critical years of the rapid brain development.
right, right,
The study scanned the brains of children 3 to 5 year olds and found those who used screens more than the recommended 1 hour a day without parental involvement had lower levels of development in the brain's white matter, which is, as we both know as educators, key development to language, literacy, and the cognitive skills.
right.
And this is important because the brain is developing the most rapidly in the first 5 years. That's when the brains are very plastic and they're soaking up everything, forming these strong connections that last for life. And some of the difficulties coming out of the excessive screen time is children having difficulty to pay attention and think clearly, increasing the poor eating habits and behavioral problems.
Mhm.
And there oftentimes can be a language delay with poor sleep and impaired executive function, um, and a decrease in the parent-child engagement.
Right. So it's just kind of it seems like this nucleus of excessive screen time viewing just has these tentacles that reach out into all areas of life. Developmentally, I think it's a key thing to look at. Bringing it back to kind of what you do at with We Stand Guard. I have kind of a mom question for you, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that I remember taking my kids to a museum in downtown LA and feeling, very good about myself, providing my kids with enriching experiences, exposing them to culture, only to be brought up very short when one of my kids stopped, pointed at the large marble statue in front of us, and in a fairly loud voice in a quiet museum announced, "Why do they have porn here?" so so I, you gotta let, it's like kids and animals will always choose the best moments for you. Right.
Yes, and if I had seen you in the museum, I would have gone up to you and hugged you and said, "You are a wonderful mom. You've trained your child."
Thank you. At the moment I was ready to kind of go underneath the nearest velvet rope and kind of,
Yes.
but it kind of brings me back to, how do you recommend we define porn for children. And then can you speak about like why definitions are important so you don't find yourself in experiences like my own?
Yes, absolutely. So my approach is let it begin with me, meaning let's define this for the grown-ups first so that we can be on the same page and then head into how do we put this in a child-friendly way. So pornography is made up of two Greek words. Porne means prostitutes and graphene means to write about. In today's digital world, we have images of porn in both form and function. So the form or the act and then the content of porn has changed from words into images, but the function or intention remains the same. In fact, according to Jill Manning, she wrote something called What's the Big Deal About Pornography? She says pornography is material specifically designed to arouse sexual feelings in people by depicting nudity, sexual behavior, and any other type of sexual information. This can refer to pictures, stories, sounds, symbols, actions, or words that depict bodies and or sexual behavior. And I know you've interviewed Gail Dines. She coined how we live in a pornified culture. She says porn is an aggressive industry. In fact, MindGeek has the pornography monopoly. It's a global conglomerate. And it targets 11 to 14-year-olds since they know their brains are still forming and it's highly susceptible to addiction. In fact, they have a response that is 4 times stronger than adults. Furthermore, Dr. Gary Lynch, who's a neurologist, he says that viewing pornography releases dopamine and adrenaline and surges the reward system, causing a similar reaction to your brain as a drug use. Also, oxytocin can cause one to bond with fantasy and reject reality. Addiction footprint on the brain is atrophy in the striate or reward system, and the more viewing per week, the more the brain changes. So as pornography becomes normalized, it's also becoming more explicit, violent, racist, humiliating, and dehumanizing, while focusing on aggressive sexual activity. Consumption of pornography causes desensitization in order to experience an arousal, and many seek ever harsher, more violent, and degrading images. Plus, a lot of it's free online.
Yes.
So pornography is a public health crisis. And according to Strength to Fight, about 88% of scenes in pornographic films contain acts of physical aggression, and 49% of scenes contain verbal aggression. The portrayed abuse in porn scenes very often are real, and many of the porn performers are sex trafficked.
Yeah.
So now that we've established the nature of pornography today for grown-ups, how do we take all of that and make it child-friendly? Kristen Jensen's author of Good Picture, Bad Picture, she says pornography simply is pictures of people without any clothes on, which can make you feel uncomfortable and embarrassed or sick to your stomach, or also feel exciting, which can be confusing to experience two feelings at the same time. In my Say No and Tell books, I teach kids to guard their eyes from what they see and hear. So examples of non-physical contact child sexual abuse may include exhibitionism, flashing, voyeurism, exposure to pornography, or sexual communication via phone or internet. These are examples that can be used for grooming by an abuser to try and normalize the next steps toward physical contact child sexual abuse. So simply put, I explain to kids that nudity or nakedness means a person without clothes. And so if a person tries to show you his or her private parts, including pictures or videos, or talks about private parts in uncomfortable ways, then say no and get away if you can and tell a trusted grown-up.
Very nice. Okay. So I think let's explore a little bit more of that after the break.
Are you looking to get your child a phone but don't know where to start? Good news. Healthy Screen Habits has done the legwork for you, and our answer is Gab Wireless. Gab Wireless created the phone that parents have all been asking for. It can text but doesn't receive or send pictures. It looks like a smartphone with a touchscreen, has talk, text, calculator, calendar, FM radio, and alarm functions, but no internet. Setup is super easy. Plug it in and start charging. Activation is free, shipping is free, and the best news is that Gab wireless phones start at under $100. Now, even more good news. You can get $5 off your order of a Gab wireless phone by using the promo code HSHabits. That's HS Habits, like healthy screen habits, but short. You can find a link to Gab Wireless under the Tools tab on our website at www.healthyscreenhabits.org. Press and hold the tab menu and look under Products We Endorse in the drop-down menu.
I'm speaking with Kimberly Perry, the founder of We Stand Guard, an organization whose mission is to educate, equip, and empower. They work to educate children and grown-ups about preventing child abuse, equip communities with boundaries and personal body safety strategies, skills, and tools, and empower everyone to talk about personal body safety so kids are safer. This concept of safety is one that gets visited again and again on the We Stand Guard website, and even their logo, which is this shield with the head of a lion on it, kind of like embodies protection and safety. Kimberly, can we kind of go back to some of the definitions that we were talking about just like what you're protecting kids from as far in safety online type stuff? So let's talk a minute about like what is child sexual abuse? How do you help kids understand the definition and how it can reach them online?
That's a great question. As a health educator, we call it personal safety, which includes both physical and non-physical contact child sexual abuse. So healthy screen habits and personal safety intersect because when a child or teenager sees pornography, that is a form of child sexual abuse and can be traumatizing. So before we move on to other things, let's define child sexual abuse. A sample definition for grown-ups is any contact or interaction, whether it's visual, verbal, or psychological, between a child minor and an adult, or between two minors, when a child or minor is being used, and one exerts power over another with force, coercion, or persuasion for the sexual stimulation of the perpetrator or any other person. A sample definition for children of child sexual abuse could be something like this. Someone older or bigger tricks or makes a child have physical touch with either one's private parts, or non-touching interactions like seeing pictures or hearing uncomfortable words about private parts.
Yeah, no, I like how you kind of interject that element of it there being some trickery perhaps involved, so
Yes, that's part of the grooming process, and often the online pornography can be part of the grooming process to normalize it as steps towards physical contact child sexual abuse.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems like whenever we're practicing safety in like any variety of settings, it usually involves practicing an act. Like I can remember being on like a cruise ship, and the first thing we did was practice assembling at lifeboat stations, or every flight you ever board, flight attendants review and practice safety instructions. So we all know how to put those yellow oxygen masks on. And I'm just wondering, what type of practice do you recommend that we teach kids or give kids to do when they find themselves confronted by images that they don't want to see online?
So I like to teach the 5 steps. And as a health educator, we really like to emphasize rehearsing and role playing. Any kinds of personal safety actions, since it's not a matter of if, but when a child may experience a questionable situation. So step 1 is say no. Step 2 is get away or look away if you can. Step 3 is tell someone. Step 4, keep telling until it stops. And step 5 is take a stand. And I actually, and something to really double, triple underline is it's key to emphasize to keep telling as many people as it takes until someone believes you and gets you the help you need or makes it stop. So here's the jingle that I made for kids. Remember to say no and get away if you can. Tell someone and keep telling until it stops. Take a stand.
Oh, I kind of want you to sing it if it's a jingle, Kimberly.
Well, okay, I'll call it a poem.
Okay. I'd like a little karaoke, please. It is amazing how those little, mnemonic things that get implanted early on in life, like how many, I know, like if you ever get a spark on you, or if you ever like catch on your clothes catch on fire, stop,
Yes.
drop, and roll, I love that kind of implanting like a jingle or a poem, because it's when you're in that very scary moment, it's kind of that voice that comes in and goes, oh, this is what you do, so you teach action by doing that.
Yes, and like you referenced, we teach kids and young people fire safety, traffic safety, water safety, people safety, and we are advocating for internet safety as well as personal body safety as something that our society unfortunately needs today. And pornography and early access to internet exposes and increases the risks for young people. And depending on how young the child is, you don't even need to get into reproduction. So at the right age, you can bring that in, but boundaries and body safety can begin from infancy to toddler all the way through. You just look for those teachable moments. For example, I had a friend where she brought her two little girls over and we went swimming at our community pool, and the bathroom was unaccessible. And so we told the little girls, we're like, okay, this is a private moment and we're going to hold up a towel around you. And so they changed. And, or, when kids are looking online, you are teaching them about the filters or about the passwords or about, having a community computer or in the family room where, so you're putting in these measures so that kids are understanding that boundaries not only have to do with my physical body, but with my eyes and what I see and what I hear as well. And then secondly, you had mentioned about the shock of it all. When a child sees pornography or someone tries a questionable encounter with a child, our brains function where the amygdala kicks in and it's fight or flight. And these jingles and these slogans, in fact, I have a bunch I could read off if you'd like. These are the things that can help hopefully override the amygdala and move us out of fight or flight so that we can be in the frontal lobe and solve this problem and take some action steps to protect ourselves.
Yeah. Do you have two or three of your favorites?
Sure. So kids will learn and they can firmly say it with a firm voice, and you practice saying it back and forth out loud to each other. They can say things like, my body belongs to me. I decide who gives me safe touches. Notice the uh-oh feeling. Guard my eyes and ears from hearing unsafe and seeing unsafe things about private parts. Say no to anyone trying unsafe touches with private parts. Telling is not tattling.
Yeah.
Tell us safe growing up no matter what.
Yeah. And I love that you emphasize tell and keep telling until you get help, because I think there is sadly enough stories that we've heard that, somebody heard something, but they kind of like, they were thinking like, oh, maybe the kid was just playing, or, and didn't take it seriously. But I like the reiteration of tell and keep telling, find other safe adults, like somebody will help you.
Yes, only 4 to 7% of stories from young people are fabricated, and only 40% of children tell.
Yeah.
And so it's important to begin with coming from the place of believing the child that when they say, I saw pornography, or someone showed me someone naked, or someone tried this unsafe touch. It's important to begin from that place of, I believe you.
Yeah, yeah, assuming positive intent and assuming, yeah, and assuming that truth is being told. Yeah. Yeah. So knowing that, I mean, body curiosity is normal, and these sexual images, like you referenced in Kristen Jensen's definition, can be exciting or compelling. How do we get kids to buy in to what we're asking them to do, which is to turn away?
So, as an educator, as you know, one of the things that we emphasize in a real strong classroom lesson, and to really meet those learning objectives and the outcomes, is we find ways to connect to a child's real world when they're learning new content, since our brains, everyone's brains, build on what we already know. And so, for instance, in the Say No and Tell books, the way I have it laid out, and this is something that can be replicated as an outline, whether it's a young child or a teenager, I begin with a story. And the kids read through a story about body safety with a 3-phase approach. And it teaches the basics of health, wellness, and safety for kids. And then the second piece is they will role play 8 real life scenarios. I researched what an abuser might try, and I found 8 different tactics, and I turned them into 8 positive life skills.
Mm,
So, and you'll notice that all of these will go throughout our lifetime, will be beneficial. So we all need to know about what is privacy, a private moment, guarding our eyes, guarding our ears, what's the difference between gifts versus bribes, safe versus unsafe secrets, and self-care and online safety. So all of this information and this approach will connect to the real world of a child or a teenager.
yeah, and teach them the importance of that, setting those boundaries, or what is comfortable for them and others.
Yes. Yeah, because when they're young, they do the parallel play, or they look in the mirror and they don't know the difference that that's somebody else, or they don't know the difference from their mom or their caregiver. And they're a big part of the growing up is that individuating and realizing I have human agency
Mhm.
and my body belongs to me. And a boundary can be thought of as a gate with a door that opens for good things to come in and closes for bad things to stay out.
I like that visual. I like that visual a lot.
I read this book recently called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and he shared a brilliant technology token system, which leads to my number one healthy screen habit tip, if you're ready for it.
Not quite yet. We have to
Oh,
take a
okay.
break, but I'll ask you for it right after we come back. Did you know anyone in a U.S. state, territory, or tribe who needs suicide or mental health related crisis support, or who has a loved one in crisis, can connect with a trained counselor by calling or texting 988. 988 is the easy to remember number that reaches what is commonly referred to as the Lifeline, a network of more than 200 state and local call centers funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Formerly known as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the full name has changed to the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. 988. It's the 911 for mental health. Okay, so we're back. I'm talking with Kimberly Perry, founder of We Stand Guard, an organization that teaches boundaries and personal body safety so everyone can help prevent child sexual abuse. Before the break, she left us on pins and needles with a reference to a book, and she said she was going to feed it right into her healthy screen habit. Can you kind of remind us what you were talking about and lead us in?
Yes, I read this fabulous book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and he shared a brilliant technology token system. And it goes like this. You give the children 10 tokens at the beginning of the week. These could be traded in for either 30 minutes of screen time or 50 cents at the end of each week, adding up to $5 or 5 hours of screen time a week. If a child reads a book for 30 minutes, he or she would earn an additional token, which could also be traded in for screen time or for money. So the results he found were incredible. Overnight, the screen time went down 90%, the reading went up by the same amount, and the overall effort that they had to put into policing the system went way, way down. So in other words, the non-essential activity dramatically decreased and the essential activity dramatically increased. Once a small amount of initial effort was invested in to set up the system, it worked without friction. The key is to start small and encourage progress and celebrate the small wins. I recently had a sleepover with my 11-year-old triplet nephews at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And one of the first things the boys asked when they stepped through the door is, "Hey, do you guys have any good books to read around here? We're earning tech time." So I was able to continue reading Judy Blume's series that allowed the Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing. And now we're into Super Fudge. We're laughing our heads off. And they even shared with my brother, who is their dad, about the funny parts as we were all laughing a lot.
I love that you're taking the time to still do read alouds with 11-year-olds, because a lot of people drop read alouds once we get into chapter zones. And I just think it's such an opportunity for connection. And like you said, like the theatrics and all of that.
Oh yeah. As a 4th and 5th grade teacher in the classroom, I definitely did read alouds with the kids, usually to end the day, just to bring everybody in. It calmed us all down and got us ready to line up for walking home or going on the bus. And as you know, at the end of the school day, it's you do all you can to get everyone safely out the door.
Exactly.
We're all ready.
Okay. Well, excellent. To find a complete transcript of this show, as well as links to We Stand Guard and any books mentioned, go to this episode's show notes on healthyscreenhabits.org. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the website, click the podcast button, and scroll down to find this episode. Kimberly, thank you for standing guard so many of these years, for giving voice that those who may not feel like they have one, and for all of your continued work that you do to protect kids.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Glad we could share this time together.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.